welcome to For Those About to Brawl, the MMA and Boxing podcast from Manchester, England. This show is brought to you by the triple threat of Iz, Den and Chutney. This podcast will be focusing on all things combat, including reviews, previews, opinions and everything in between. Iz, tell me a bit about yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm the Iz. You can follow me on Twitter at MMA Boxing _Iz. That's IZ. I'm not going to tell you anything more because you'll have to listen to find out.
Oh, keeping us waiting, folks, keeping us waiting. Chutney.
Yeah, I'm Chutney, lawyer / amateur boxing trainer, adding a bit of sophistication to podcast, which will generally be unsophisticated. But what about that tune we started with there?
Absolutely, Chutney. So this is Den and I'm the man in the middle, and that tune you were listening to on the way in was by Secondhand Guns, and you need to check them out on iTunes and Spotify. A fantastic Manchester-based band.
Shout out to them.
Big shout out to them. A big shout out as well to our social media crew, which is kicking into life now. So if you want to check us out, we're on Twitter on FTAB News. That's FTAB News. Same with Instagram, and on Facebook for those about to brawl. Please check us out. So, gentlemen, down to business. UFC 212. What are your thoughts on the main event?
Well, was anybody surprised? Max Holloway stepped up and took what was Jose Aldo's playground. I don't think Aldo's been the same since Conor McGregor snapped his winning streak, in, 13 seconds?
13 seconds, yep.
13 seconds. But Max Holloway, wow, since losing to Conor McGregor, he's just impressed me more and more every fight that I've seen him in. What do you reckon, Chutney?
Well, who was surprised? I was surprised.
Yeah, I knew.
Certainly how it ended like that. And, we've talked about this previously. I had Aldo in this. Aldo against Edgar, back to his best. He was superb in that fight.
Yep.
I'd like to watch it again to have a look at leg kicks in it, because I think there were two
He didn't throw any
against Holloway,
yeah.
And I just don't know why someone who's coming forward at you all the time, like Holloway, a guy who is building himself up as a contender, against Lamas, just throws down in the final seconds of the fight when he just doesn't need to.
Yep.
It's not a clever move, but says a lot about him. And I don't mean in terms of intelligence. I mean he's just a warrior.
Yep.
I didn't expect it to go like that, but Holloway, like you say, since McGregor, superb. And it's an interesting comparison. Holloway beat him down over rounds, while McGregor did it straight away. Call that punch what you want. Doesn't tell Aldo's whole story, and I'm sure we all agree that Aldo's whole story is an incredible one, and won't be defined by those two fights.
And it's a shame in many ways, sorry Dennis, because people won't know the history of Aldo. New fans who probably jumped on the
McGregor fans.
The McGregor fans, definitely. Probably their first experience of Aldo was that McGregor fight.
Yep.
And then you see him come back against Frankie, and he was superb against Frankie.
Yep.
No disrespect to Frankie, but he saw Frankie's game and he raised him 10. But then for them to see him then lose to Max Holloway, who's come with a different game plan to McGregor, like you say, Chutney, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. I think on your point, it is a bit of a shame because before he came to the UFC, he was just a whirlwind, Aldo, wasn't he? Just finishing people non-stop. And while he has been ultra impressive in the UFC, he hasn't really had that highlight reel of finishes to show off to people. And so, like you said, he's going to be remembered, unfortunately, for getting sleeped in 13 seconds and then getting beaten up by a young kid in Holloway. Saying that, in the first round, I thought Aldo was having him.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. I thought, oh.
Well, it's always been said about his gas tank.
Yeah.
He's explosive first round, maybe even second round.
Yep.
But then the third, fourth championship rounds come, and there's always been a question about Aldo. But taking it back to the leg kicks point, if anyone's not seen the Uriah Faber fight from WEC, a massacre of a man's leg. Just Google Uriah Faber's leg, Aldo, and you will see for yourself what Aldo is capable of. But to bring it back to Max Holloway, does anyone think he's got a bit of the Diaz brothers about him? you know, the
Attitude.
the attitude, a little bit cocky.
I've taken his village.
Yeah, taken his village.
Same build as well, like tall, lanky, big, long reach on them, both of them.
That's it.
All of them.
It's a blessed era.
Yeah.
It's a blessed era, and he peppers them shots, so which is very much like the Diaz
boxing
brothers.
style.
So it was great to watch, and as you know, Dennis, I'm a big Diaz brothers fan.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
any nastiness from Blessed, I'm quite happy about that.
And we all agree that the belt is the proper belt, don't we?
Yeah.
Regardless of what
Connor's
Conor
gone
McGregor
now.
might be.
Yeah, he's gone now. I think he hasn't been in the division for over a year. I think as soon as that happens, and I don't think we're ever going to see him back at featherweight, to be honest.
You wouldn't think so. It's a cemented legacy, though. You know, I can't see it.
Came, he
being
saw,
done
he
again.
conquered.
He came, he saw it, he conquered. 2 weights. There was talk of him doing a third, and now he's calling out Floyd Money Mayweather. So he could do whatever he
Surreal,
wants.
isn't it?
That
It's
boy.
surreal.
He's not going back.
It's been months and months, and it's still hard to believe what's happened. Whirlwind just passed through 2 divisions, and now he's gone to boxing.
It's true. He's gone from Slazenger socks to Gucci Tiger socks. My man.
You get your socks from Stretford Market, mate.
Shout out to Stretford Market.
So UFC featherweights, I think it's fair to say that the next man on the list for Holloway's got to be Frankie Edgar.
And who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah.
So on your points about there being the blessed era now, my money be on Frankie taking him down and blasting him out like he did in his last fight.
Wow.
Just saying.
You got Frankie on it?
Yep.
Big bold statement.
Take
there,
him
Dennis.
down, keep him on the ground and beat him up.
Now, I think we've alluded to before when we've spoken that Frankie is an elite fighter, but I think Blessed has proven time and time again the way he's dealt with people that he can deal with any style, and I'm gonna have to go with my boy Max Holloway. I think he's the up and comer, and he's making it his own. And give it to him in Hawaii. Come on, UFC.
Yep.
Who doesn't want to go to
That'd be
Hawaii?
superb, wouldn't it?
Who doesn't want to go to Hawaii? Me, because I'm scared of flying.
It'd be certainly interesting to see what happens in that fight. I find it very difficult to predict it now, and it's early days. You know, who knows what will happen in the meantime. But I think Edgar might be tough enough to get through that onslaught from Holloway, maybe take him down.
I just think the blueprint was there from Frankie in his last fight. Just go in, take him down, and control him. So I know it's easier said than done. I just got a feeling that Edgar's going to be a 2-weight champion.
Yeah.
It's a destiny almost,
I hope
isn't it?
so. You know, and I think the biggest winner out of Saturday was Edgar, because finally he didn't have to fight Aldo. Well, he had no chance of fighting Aldo for a 3rd time, I don't think so.
And he's not done bad against Hawaiians before, has he, Dennis?
Mm.
Well.
Yeah.
Shout out to my favourite fighter of all time, BJ Penn. Yeah, Dennis, you want to tell him anything?
We were having a few just quiet sociable drinks in London, and Frankie Edgar walked past, and of course I was just being my sociable self, put my arm around him, and I said, my friend Israel doesn't like you, Frankie, because BJ's his favourite fighter. And Frankie looked at him and said, BJ's my favourite fighter as well.
Yeah. And that was the moment I knew that Frankie Edgar was a boy.
Yeah.
So what about Cub Swanson? I think it's worth a mention.
Mm.
But I think he's missed the boat. Doing what he's told. Fighting Do Ho Choi.
Yep.
And
Artem.
Artem. You know, fair enough. He's a warrior. He takes the fights. He beats them. But with this change in the guard in that division, has he missed the boat? And what will happen next?
Possibly, but I think it's a future fight. I think nobody can begrudge Frankie Edgar the Holloway fight. So I think Cub Swanson will have to be a team player. He'll have to maybe take another fight or maybe wait it out. But I see him as a future fight. Whether Aldo returns, that's a question.
So yeah, that was going to be my next point. So I think you're right about Cub. I think he probably has done. He's cashing the paychecks while he can. It's not too long ago that he actually fought Holloway and lost. It was a while ago, but so it could be a while off yet. But I think the big question is Aldo. What's he going to do? Because he's had a bit of a rocky relationship with the UFC in the past, saying he will fight, he won't fight, being injured a lot. I'd imagine he's quite a wealthy man. Is he shop worn? Is he going to bother fighting any again?
He loves it, doesn't he?
Do you think?
I think so. He loves his fans, and he does have a lot of Brazilian fans. No matter how he's put down by the Anglophone media because he doesn't communicate with them because he's not learned English.
Just for our listeners, would you like to explain what Anglophone is?
English speaking, because of
Thank
course
you very much.
most of the MMA media is American and we are not American.
Thank you.
So he does have a massive fan base, and that arena rocking like it has done before for him when he jumped into the crowd that time.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I think he'll carry on, but the UFC must be licking their lips at this.
Yeah.
It was the right result for them. They've got a much more interesting fighter, regardless of language, in Holloway, who talks rubbish.
Yep. New markets.
Yeah, he's pretty amusing.
Wears
And
nice ties as well.
he does wear pretty cool ties. And then Aldo, if he stays on, it's a bonus for them on top because people still want to watch him. Certainly us.
I think, I mean, I didn't hear rumours of any weight problems or getting down to the weight, which has haunted him, if you like, in previous fights, that he's drained. But it's still
Aldo,
an option to step up to 155.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we're going to see him, to be honest.
Probably where we want to see him, and we probably want to see him in fantasy fights now.
Yep.
You know, Pettis was always there. Who doesn't want to see Pettis versus Aldo?
So Pettis has gone back up as well now, hasn't he? So he's not doing featherweight again.
Pettis had a bit of a struggle with the 145 weight, but who doesn't want to see Pettis Showtime?
Yep.
With all his style and his taekwondo background versus Aldo, the old school Aldo, the killer. Ooh, vamos where? Who doesn't want to see that?
So you throw him in there against top 5 lightweight?
Let's say a fantasy.
Right, you go for the
big
names.
It doesn't matter about the title for Aldo because for me, he's cemented his legacy.
Yep.
He's the king of featherweight for a long, long time till he was.
It matters for him though. Title matters to him. I think so.
I think he won't be a 2-weight champ.
I don't know about that. I know McGregor's there, isn't he?
Yeah, that'd be.
And I'm actually desperate for that fight. I mean, he still called himself champion after he got knocked down in 13 seconds, which is just absurd to say. Yeah, but long-lasting denial is a bit strange. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
some killers in that division.
There is. So that one, unfortunately, fallen Brazilian victor there, leading on to a victorious Brazilian victor in the co-main event of the night, where we saw Claudio Gadelha in a first-round stoppage over Carolina. I'll hand this over to you, Chutney.
Yeah, well, Carolina, warrior, Polish warrior, of which there are many, myself included. Well, maybe not. But,
what about the warrior or the Polish bit?
Yeah, sad for Carolina. I mean, she was crying after, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And it's interesting in that division now, actually. I mean, it just shows how far women's MMA has come. I mean, we take real interest in this division.
Yeah.
Rose is probably next on that. Carolina's beating Rose soundly. Is Claudia Gadelha going to just batter Rose and then she's going to be a long-range champion? I mean, I don't know at this point, but the MMA math, as the Americans call it, is all over the place on this one. So it's pretty hard to point where to go.
I think, just before I hand over to you, I think Claudio is in a bit of a tough situation, isn't she? What do you think?
I think she is, and I think the biggest problem in that division is Joanna Champion's just a beast.
Yep.
We've alluded to elite fighters before. She's an elite fighter. She's one away from breaking Ronda's record. She's equalled it at the moment, hasn't she?
I think so, yeah. We said that in the last show.
She's equalled it, so she's one away from breaking that record. I think the best bet for Rose, Claudia, Carolina, anybody else is Joanna wins the next fight and then moves up.
Clears out.
There's rumour of a 125 division coming to light as well.
Yeah.
Can imagine Joanna stepping up to 125. It's still a realistic weight for
Joanna's
her build.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Joanna's beaten Claudia Gadelha twice already.
Yep. Although there were 2 toughest fights from memory, I think. But yeah, you are right. Two wins, you're not gonna, or 2 losses, you're gonna struggle to come back, aren't you? Yeah.
So I know maybe Rose and Gadelha fight, but yeah, like you say, if Joanna goes up, where to?
One point to go back on Carolina. Did anyone think she was too laxy-daisy? You know, she come into it and she was so happy and she's leaning against the fence. And I know, Dennis, you've said before that you quite like that.
I think she's a lovely person. I think just a bit of sunshine in the brutal life of an MMA fighter, mate. You need to let it in.
She always does that, right?
Yeah.
I think you need that devil in you. You know, Claudia, she's got a bit of devil in her.
Yep.
Joanna's definitely got a little bit of devil in her.
Yeah,
that nastiness.
I think Carolina's got it. She showed it against Joanna, but
exactly, yeah.
She was good in that fight. She's just a lovely person, I know you don't like...
I'm a nasty man, what more can I say?
You are, mate, you are. That Joanna fight, she was resting on the fence, she gave the camera a little wink. Biggest fight of her career against a fellow Pole. The pressure on her should have been tremendous, but it didn't seem so. Yeah. And she put up such a good fight. I mean, it was a great fight, that one.
Definitely.
But, of course, Joanna, no one beats her.
No. True. So I think it's a fair assumption to think that Rose is up next for Joanna champion. I don't think it's signed anything yet, but I think that's...
unless they match her up with Claudia.
Joanna? Oh,
Rose.
Rose, maybe.
Rose as eliminator.
I suppose it depends how much time Joanna wants off after her last fight. I don't know.
I think she's due to get married as well, Joanna.
Oh, is she?
So it might depend on that as well.
It might work out then.
It might work out that...
An eliminator.
An eliminator. Let's not throw interim in there, because everybody wants to throw an interim belt around the waist, don't they?
Rose and Joanna haven't fought, have they?
They've not fought, no.
So I'd hope that she'd get through then for
the UFC,
someone else to have a crack,
exactly,
the
UFC,
and then they'd win that,
but I was gutted for Carolina. I think she's a really amazing person, so very disappointed.
Team nasty.
Yeah. Anything else from the ladies? About the ladies, I wasn't talking to you two then.
That's not very nice, is it?
Well, one victorious Brazilian. It seems to be a bit of a thread here from Brazilian to Brazilian. Is the one Brazilian who used to be so shredded it was unbelievable, and now he's got a belly as big as mine. Vitor Belfort on Saturday. He actually looked half impressive versus Nate Marquardt in his inverted commas final fight.
Close one, wasn't it?
Yeah. What do you think?
I'm not sure how you guys had it. I couldn't quite pick it. It was very even. Fair enough, he's got it. Clean Vitor. I heard Joe Rogan talking about him now. It's a bit of a come down after everything he was taking before, whether or not it was legit what he was taking. And he could actually be in worse shape now than he would have been
if
otherwise.
He was just being natural.
Because he is... Well, he could look better, is what I suggest. But fighting-wise, still looks pretty good. Still looks pretty good.
Look at the length of his arms, though. This is a fact I cannot get over with Vitor.
Yeah.
I can't get over how long his arms are, and therefore, reach-wise, he's up there with anyone giving him problems.
You love his long arms, don't you, mate?
I love the long arms, yeah, most definitely. Vitor. But, I mean, I had Vitor winning. Probably 29-28 was fair.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Vitor for me.
No, well, it was his first decision in 10 years. It's like, whoa. Because usually Vitor either finishes in the first round or gets beaten up. And I did not see it going 3 rounds between those three, because they're both a bit chinny and they've both been rocked a fair few times before. Yeah. So it's quite
interesting stat that. I didn't know that.
It's quite tactical fighter from Vitor, I thought.
It was almost he'd gone on record saying about this Legends League, if you like.
Yeah.
And it was almost 2 legends, if you like. And I know they didn't get any time, extra time or anything that he'd requested in the longer breaks. And it was just normal UFC rules. But it was Nate the Great Marquardt from back in the day.
Absolutely. He fought for the title.
He looked in great shape. He looked in great shape.
And what have you, against Vitor. The killer who knocked out this guy and was the youngest heavyweight champion.
Yep.
So there was some pedigree to the fight, but it disappointed a little bit to watch it, and I was like, come on, Vitor, you've got your win, that's it. But then when he got on the mic afterwards and he said, I've got 5 more fights in me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Vitor, maybe 1 or 2, but 5 fights.
What is that? How many has he got left with the UFC?
That was the last one, wasn't it?
Well, I thought so, but then I've heard that he's got another. He might have an option to stay on.
an option.
Yeah, or the UFC might have an option maybe to match him or something. But I think there's a definite possibility that he could fight for the UFC again.
Well, they always have that kind of cooling off period, don't they, at the end of the end of the contract?
Well,
the negotiation period.
They'll potentially match offers, but it's almost a new lease of life for Vito, a new way of fighting, protecting himself, keeping that distance, and that was echoed from the change to Firas Zahabi. Who's the legendary trainer of people like GSP, Rory McDonald, you know, Britain's own Tom Breeze. So maybe it's a change of you know, views how he's gonna go forward.
Can you?
I thought he was gonna jiu-jitsu Nate a little bit more. You know, take him down because he is a black belt jiu-jitsu. You never ever see it.
Yep.
But can you teach an old dog new tricks? Because he's 40 years of age.
I think
apparently you can.
Well, yeah, fair point. Actually, that's right. Yeah, good show.
So what is next then? I mean, what do you think he would want? Do you think he'd want to stay in UFC or go for money at Bellator?
Money. Whoever's offers the most, I think.
He's been everywhere though, hasn't he?
Yeah, all over
you know,
the place.
I remember Cage Rage back in the day. He's fought in the UK. He's fought the early days of UFC. You know, he's probably been on BAMMA, and if ACB's building their cards up more and more. So if UFC didn't offer him a new contract or what have you, I'm pretty sure ACB will be very quick to make him an offer.
That's interesting.
You know, Vito Belfort is still Vito Belfort. So whether he knocks someone out or he decisions him, he will put bums on seats.
Go on, sorry, Chutney.
Sorry, I could see him fighting Chael Sonnen in 12 months' time.
Oh, Bellator.
Ooh, Bellator.
After Chael beats Vanderlei.
Yeah. Whatever happens there. Who cares?
If he turns up.
Yeah. There's a fight that everyone's been talking about for the last couple of years. I was never that interested in it because we've seen it before. It'll never beat the original, but Vito versus Anderson. They could maybe do that in Brazil one more time. A final hurrah for one of the... that might be an option. If they could convince Silva, I don't think he'd be too bothered about doing it again because he's never ever going to top that finish, is he? But
what are they in Brazil once a year? Is it?
I think so for the main numbered events. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be difficult. I think. I
wouldn't be against that. It's not what Anderson wants, though, is it?
No,
he wants title.
He wants titles.
He thinks he deserves a shot right now, doesn't he?
Yeah. Could be the last we see of Nate Marquardt, you think?
Possibly, or he might turn up and there's so many shows nowadays,
yeah,
you know, across Europe alone. So he could turn up on one of the shows in Europe.
Do you mean for the UFC still?
Possibly for the UFC, possibly outside the UFC. We don't know. Their cult comes around, and you know, you get surprised on some of the names that are on there. But would you really be surprised if Nate Marquardt got the cut? You know, he's not really a needle pusher.
No, time to go. I think
he's not a gatekeeper.
Yep.
You know, it could be time to go, and
like you say,
there are options out there.
There's lots of options now. ACB being one. We went to an event in Manchester. They put on, I think, 24 fights in one night. Different style of show.
Yep.
And also they're building towards a big show in America.
Right.
So they've penciled in a good 10 to 15 events from now till the end of the year, and that includes places like Russia. It includes all across Europe, and it does also have America stop date there as well, tour date there. So, you know, they want these American
big
names.
money behind them.
They want to bring these boys in, and the money is behind them. So, who knows? It's interesting times for MMA.
That's true. This is the moment in the show, folks, that Israel's been looking forward to the most, because he gets his chance to pronounce the middleweight fighter that he was very impressed with on Saturday. Over to you, Iz.
I'll be honest. I've seen the saviour of Brazilian MMA, and his name is Paulo Borrachina. Borrachina. He was fighting Oluwale Bambu.
Sorry about that, Iz. I've showed you a hospital pass there, but
and he was just amazing. It was a battle of two knockout artists. Bamgoose,
couple of grippers,
six knockouts in his 6 wins. Borrachino, I think he's 8 knockouts. Unbelievable. I think he is the saviour of Brazil.
The saviour of Brazil.
Saviour of Brazil.
Get him on that statue in Rio.
He should be there, honestly.
You just want him on the show, don't you?
He should come. If I could learn Portuguese, then yeah, most definitely.
It was a bit of a war, though, wasn't it? Because at first, that first round, I thought he was done. Because he was just the other guy was just hammering him. Bambos, I can't pronounce that lad's name, but I thought he was going to kill him. But then obviously he got to be a little bit tired in the second round.
It was
Your
just,
boy took over.
It was phenomenal. It was somebody was getting knocked out in that fight, and with a 10-0 record now, Borrachina is the next big thing out of Brazil.
Who would you slow burner, or would you throw him in against a name?
I think they'll if they're wise UFC.
Yep.
They'll slow burner him. Probably put him on co-main event status in Brazil. But he's ready. This guy, I'm pretty sure he could fight a top 10 guy, and he's ready for him. Really
future champ then, or what?
In my eyes,
whoa,
he's a future contender.
Wow, watch this space.
Big predictions there, FTAB listeners. It's the first one we've had out. Future contender. What's his name again? Is
Paulo Barachina.
That's it. Nice. Prior to that, we saw the other big hope that everyone used to go on in prediction, Eric Silva. He lost again, Yancy Medeiros. Bit of a shame, really. I used to like Eric Silva. Well,
Yeah.
I still like it. He just doesn't care, does he? Just bangs down. What do you think, boys?
Yeah, waste it, doesn't he? Wastes his chances.
Yep.
And he's had some decent fights, some decent wins. It's just win, lose for him. It doesn't make any progress in the division.
I think a big credit goes to Yancy Medeiros as well, and in turn, is it Richard Perez? You know, the Diaz brothers trainer, boxing
coach. Yeah.
He also coaches Yancy Medeiros, so another Hawaiian with a bit of Diaz style in him. But Eric Silva, he's exciting to watch, whether he wins, whether he loses, and I think he's one of them where, yeah, sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses, and his record, at least in the last 10 fights, shows that hit and miss, stature. But I'm excited to watch his next fight. I can't wait. If I see Eric Silva on the card, I will turn it on and tune in, because I know he's either going to go out there and knock someone out, sub him, or vice versa. It's going to happen to him. There's no decision.
There's no chance he's going to be getting cut anytime soon, is there? They value that type of fighter.
Yeah, fair enough.
A fight I was slightly disappointed by was right at the end of the prelim card, Sun Sao versus Moraes.
Moraes.
Yes, you said it better than me. I was big hopes on him coming in. It was a bit let down, to be honest.
I was let down as well, but you've got to understand it. Big up to, and I mean, he is Brazilian, isn't he? But he was definitely, he was not the hometown fighter, in the fight. I think he fights out of New York, if I'm not mistaken, with Frankie.
He does as an Edgar boy,
guys. But respect to him, first fight to go to Brazil. It was big on him. He came with a big pedigree, as well as the World Series of Fighting. Champion there. Give him a couple of fights. It's a tough fight to throw you straight in, but I'll be tuning in next time he fights. It was a close fight in my eyes.
Yep.
I probably gave it a Sun Sao. But watch this space. I think there's more to Moraes than
it was
than it is.
Sorry, it was a tough fight for his first one, and it's not something they usually do. When it comes to these champions or decent fighters from other organisations who come to UFC, usually they test the water with someone a bit below their level. Just to introduce them, but straight onto the main event on the FS1 card, which is an important event because it gets a lot more viewers than the pay-per-view
sells
does.
the pay-per-view.
Maybe too much pressure for his first fight, which is a shame. Great personality, that guy.
He is. He's funny. And a Sun Sao, to be fair, like to your point, Chutney, he's very, very top-level type guy, isn't he? So he's going to be thereabouts.
I think the saving grace is at 135. He's probably only a couple of fights, maybe 3 fights away from the top
fighting,
end. It's not the most stacked division. So, fingers crossed. It's not like boxing where a loss on your record is the end of your career. It's MMA. You're only ever a couple of fights away from being mentioned in the mix, so to speak. So good luck to him.
Any other fights you two would like to call out on the UFC 2-1-12 card that caught your fancy?
The 2-1-12 card.
212.
Not got that far, mate.
I'm just trying to fill some time here while you're picking your nose.
Not so much a fight, but I was really happy to see Sakuraba is being.
Have you read my agenda?
It's
I have my little secret notes here.
It's possible. if you'd have shared that agenda with us, then I wouldn't have been throwing it out, would I? But he's amazing. If you've never seen Sakuraba, the Gracie Killer, or was it Gracie Hunter?
Yeah,
I think he was called both, to be fair. He's beat Henzo, he's beat Hoist Gracie, he's beat Ryan Gracie, rest in peace. He's amazing. So you need to check him out, and his style was so good. And I think he's probably, I know Dennis is a big pro wrestling fan. He's probably the first pro wrestling guy who goes into the UFC Hall of Fame. So good on him.
Let me just question that. Is Ken Shamrock in the UFC Hall of Fame?
Oh, do you think Ken Shamrock's in the Hall of Fame?
The world's most dangerous man.
Now I think he might have been in there for one of the best fights ever.
Well, that means
we'd have to check that. But as an individual, I don't think Ken Shamrock has been inaugurated into the UFC Hall of Fame.
I'll let you have that. Anything else from 212?
Nothing that shouts out to me.
I was going to say, no matter what, when there's a card in Brazil, I always feel a little bit disconnected to it in comparison with the USA ones. I don't know what that is, but just never feel as connected. I think that might have been the same here. Overall, what do you reckon to the card?
It's a good card, kept me excited from start to finish. Some really good fights on there. Good to see a couple of names, up and coming. It's a bit worrying for Brazil because, the Nogueiras, one's retired now, one's probably in the back end of his career. Anderson Silva probably in the back end of his career. Jose Aldo, we spoke about potentially, legend fights, and that's about it. So it was probably worrying who they got coming through, but when you've
apart
got
from Barshini.
Exactly.
It's going to save Brazil.
You've got that's the point I was going to make, but
sorry, mate,
watch this space, guys. Watch this space.
The atmosphere. The fans, Brazilian fans, they make it.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you guys saw much of Embedded.
Yep.
But the Brazilian fans getting photos with Holloway, and they just love it.
Yep.
They just love it, and really makes it in the atmosphere in that stadium. It was amazing.
It's great how they will literally scream to your face that you're dead and all these kind of obscenities, and next minute come over and photograph and stuff.
Yeah. It's Latin spirit, isn't it?
I think it's only Dennis though who goes round to fighters and tells them that Israel doesn't like you or it supports the person you're against. So otherwise,
you've got to grass. You've got to grass
them up. Thanks for the loyalty, Dan.
Lie, cheat, and steal, mate. Someone mentioned then about careers and how long people can go on, and it's sad that Brazilians are coming to the end and the legends of the UFC. A bit of a tenuous link here, but Mr. Kell Brook, in his boxing match the week before last.
Yeah, boxing.
Going into the fight, what did everyone... Well, we'll rewind it back. What did everyone think going into the fight? What were your predictions?
It was a 50-50 fight for me.
Yep.
One of my good friends, Gareth Black, so shout out to Gareth who will be listening to us. He said to me a few years back, he said, check this Errol Spence Jr. out. And I looked at Errol Spence and I was like, he's amazing. His style was amazing. He's a finisher. So him being mandatory for Kell Brook, I was worried. But then it was in Sheffield, hometown boy, stadium. It was too much. I thought Kell Brook's going to win this. It's too much for Errol Spence. Untested a little bit at this elite level. First title shot. I was so sad. I was saddened for Kell Brook. I really was.
Chutney, I think you were... I believe there was rumours you might have been in Poland enjoying yourself at the same time with this fight. I don't know if that's... can I not say that?
Sorry, you want me?
Okay.
Training, obviously.
Yeah, training. He wasn't arrested, honest. What do you think about Kell? You're a big fan, I believe.
Yeah, I do like Kell Brook. He's a nice guy, isn't it? Like a nice guy. He's got a squeaky little voice.
Yeah.
My name's Kell Brook.
I love it. What? What was that?
He's in the room. Tough for him. Tough couple of fights. And if I'm right, he's broken left eye socket in one fight and the right eye socket in the other.
Total opposite side.
And that is awful. That awful injury. Long time healing. Who knows what's next for him?
Yep.
He's really been through a war.
Did you see the interviews and chats with him afterwards?
I didn't know. What kind of state was he in?
He was like on the verge of. You weren't, from watching it and hearing it, you weren't convinced he wanted to come back.
He was more worried, and understandably.
Yep.
That the last time it happened, he was told that he could have gone blind if the fight went on.
Yeah.
You know,
and
so
it happens.
In his interview, he said that was on my mind, and I think Tony Bellew's since come out, and he said you can't be boxing. If that's going to be on your mind, you can't be boxing, because unfortunately Kell's come in for loads of criticism. You know, Amir Khan was there ringside. He was criticising him. Tony Bellew's come in to you know, say you can't be boxing if that's on your mind. So it's very sad, but can he go into a fight thinking, well, one more shot here and am I going to go blind? Both eyes it's happened to now, so maybe he's more someone help me out there. Thank you, legal man. To, you know, it happening again, and it might play on his mind, but I don't know what's next for him. There are some killers in that weight class. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter rematch, you know, Danny Garcia. These guys are big hitting.
Trembling at the thought.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, but then what's next for him? Does he move up in weight? You know, there's some killers in the weight class above him, and then there's always that Amir Khan fight.
Yeah, Khan holds all the cards on that now, doesn't he?
In some sense, he does.
I think
even though he's not fought in so long.
Bigger name.
He's the big. Worldwide, he's the bigger name.
Massive, isn't he?
Yeah. You know, and Kell, he's held that IBF title. He's defended against mandatories. He moved up against Golovkin, and he's built his name. However, Amir Khan is a more settled. Even though he lost in Canelo, he didn't lose any fans.
Yep.
So I think it's a fight that I'd like to still see happen.
Maybe a bigger name, but bigger name in the UK. Would you say?
I'd say so, because of that worldwide appeal. You know,
but how many Americans would be tuning in for a fight that's would likely to be in, you know, Wembley Stadium or something? You know,
the tune in. There was good figures for the heavyweights.
Yeah.
I think Keller's done himself. Like I say, he's built his brand by fighting Golovkin. Whether he won or lost, he's built his brand, and the needle that there would be between the two, Amir Khan and Kell Brook, it's unbelievable. You know, I would give him a big shout out for those about to Brawl Podcast.
The Golovkin fight. Do you think it was a wrong decision? And I don't mean with hindsight. At the time, did you think what is he doing, or did you think fair enough?
There was a sense of that for me.
Yeah, what's the point?
But you know, if you're not in there, you don't take them fights. You know, you've got to be in it to win it. Like Dennis alludes to the lottery. So, you know, he took his chance, and unfortunately he didn't win, but he didn't lose anything. He was still a world champion. If he'd have won, we'd all been saying, wow, what a great gamble that was. So.
Wouldn't be talking about Amir Khan, that's for sure.
No, Chutney, you were a good boy this weekend. You stayed in and watched the boxing. What was the fight you mentioned that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, Adonis Stevenson and Fanfara. Another poll coming out of everywhere tonight, aren't they? Adonis Stevenson, southpaw, with that back left hand coming from all angles.
Yep.
Really impressive performance.
You said before the podcast started you were really impressed with Adonis as well.
Well, both of them actually. And Fanfara, another Polish warrior, took a proper beating, got knocked down twice early rounds.
Yep.
Managed to knock down Stevenson, who is a little bit cocky. You know, he holds that back left low to get the different angles, but you hold your hands low, and a guy like Fanfara can take a punch.
Yep. Just walk through it.
Yeah, walk through it and
return the fire.
But still very impressive performance from him. I didn't know where the punches were coming from. Body shots were amazing. All from that back left hand.
I was, in some sense, disappointed with Fonfara for the fight. Shout out to the lads in work and the boxing predictions.
Nice.
I had the fight going down to a decision in Stevenson's favour, especially after the first fight the two of them had, where it was a back and forth war and Stevenson pulled out on top. So I thought it was going to be much the same, but I was so shocked that Stevenson blew him away. But you've got to protect the fighters, and the licks that he was taking, it was
damaging.
It was hard to watch. You probably agree, Chutney, that some of the shots that Fonfara took, he's definitely a Polish warrior, no doubt about that, but it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Difficult.
The only way he was going to win it was more than one knockdown by the end, wasn't it?
Definitely.
But those body shots were killing him.
Yeah, and respect to Virgil Hunter in his corner. He knew when the time was right, and he threw the towel in. And they come in for a lot of criticism, trainers, even referees stopping the fights early. There was no complaints from me in respect to that. You've got to save the fighters from
better
themselves.
early than late, isn't it, I suppose?
Most definitely.
And what's interesting about it is it's real. It can be a real chess game, boxing, in a way that MMA can't. The reason being is 10-point MOS system, the scoring system. If Fonfara gets knocked down a couple of times early in the fight, in the first 4 rounds, was it the fourth round, the second knockdown, then he's still got 8 rounds to get back into it.
Yep.
And of course he didn't, but it just highlights for me that the situation in MMA where they really need to sort that scoring system out. I know that we were not planning on talking about that today.
No.
But I do enjoy. It reminds me why I like boxing so much.
Maybe that's we can put that out to our listeners and fire your ideas at our Twitter handle FTAB News about how the MMA gods can improve the scoring system. We might discuss it next time in our next podcast.
Or straight to me at Chutney News if you want the personal touch.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, we've already got 47 followers on our Facebook page. So keep on building, keep on sharing, and promote our page.
To the 47. We love and appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. 5 stars on iTunes, please.
Yeah. Okay then, gents. Now time for predictions. First up is the Black Beast Derek Lewis versus Mark Hunt. Chutney, tell me what you think is going to happen in that fight.
Yeah, so it's the next FS1 card, isn't it? UFC. The Black Beast, I just don't like him, I know he's entertaining.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if it's relevant whether or not I like him. What he did to Travis Brown, I just did not expect that. He is a Black Beast. But I got Mark Hunt on this. I think he's the warrior for the job.
Chutney. You are Chutney. So Chutney's saying Mark Hunt. Isra, what are you saying?
I'm going to have to go against my better judgment because I'm a Pride fan till I die. I'm going to have to go with Derek Lewis, the Black Beast.
Wow.
Because Stipe Miocic, the Black Beast, is coming for you.
Really?
He's coming for him.
You think so?
I'm saying it right now.
No. Oh, Mark Hunt's going to KO the Black Beast. The co-main event in New Zealand that night is Derek Brunson versus Dan Kelly in the middleweight division. Dan Kelly's coming off an impressive win off Rashad Evans. What do you think is going to happen?
I've got to go with Derek Brunson. I'm very impressed when I see him. I know he lost his fight against Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
But I think that was a learning fight for him. Dan Kelly, another prospect, if you like. Like you say, coming off a win against Rashad Evans, but it's Derek Brunson for me in that fight, and I will be tuning in. I'm excited for that fight.
Yeah. Dan Kelly, the prospect, is 39 years old.
Wow.
But anyway,
same age as you is. Same age as you.
Yeah. I've got Brunson as well on this. Exactly the same reasons as Isra. He's finding his way in that Anderson Silva fight. He played it wrong after impressive wins beforehand. I think now everything will balance out and he won't have a hard time with Dan Kelly. If I may go back to the heavyweights, and you're talking about Derek Brunson going for Miocic, he's on his way there. Francis Ngannou's the name that jumps to my mind. But there's talk of him fighting JDS.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
I think they've almost signed for it.
That is a terrible fight for JDS.
Yeah, it's like they're signing his death warrant there, isn't it? It's like,
See, it's the Brazilians. It's the end of an era for the Brazilians, and it's sad time.
it is. I don't know. I just think it's poor matchmaking on the UFC behalf. That.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I'm going to go against you again. I'm going to say Dan Kelly's going to win that fight. Main event in Singapore. Holly Holm is on a 3-fight losing skid. She's up against Betch Kohea. What do you think is going to happen in that fight is?
I'm team boxing all day, so I think Holly Holm is going to win by brutal KO.
Ooh.
Whether it's with her hands or, neglecting my boxing background and saying she's going to knock her out with her feet. Whatever she wants to do, Beth is going to hit the floor like a sack of spuds.
Chutney?
I'm not sure I can be that emphatic about it, but yeah, I'm with us on that.
Yeah.
Holly Holm all the way on that one.
So I agree with you two on that, but let me just ask you the question. If Holly Holm loses, that's 4 in a row, will we see her again?
Holly Holm for me is a legend. She's a boxing legend, multiple time world boxing champion. She's a UFC champion, so she can call it a day if she wants to, or she can carry on 4-0, 5-0, 10-0. If she was 10-0, we'd definitely drop her.
I'd never be asking for a fighter's retirement.
Yep.
I do like Holly Holm. For her, who knows? She's had some tough fights.
Yep.
That new women's division with Duranda Me and I think messed up her flow a bit.
Yep.
Her progression in the UFC, because it's she's not been there a decade or anything, has she?
Not at all.
So yes, I see her staying on and keep on fighting. She's a fighter.
Cool. Then over to boxing. I think it's the 17th of June. We've got a big fight with Andre Ward in a rematch. What do you think is going to happen? What's your view on that fight?
It's one of these fights where if you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind. If you ask me today, I'm going to say Andre Ward. Rematch of a fight earlier in the year that was amazing. Some people had Kovalev winning. It went to a decision. Ward took it.
Yep.
He's a masterful boxer, Andre Ward. I really look forward to him fighting. But ask me again tomorrow and I could say Kovalev.
What do you think, Chutney? You're a big fan of Andre Ward.
I am actually. And yeah, he's a pleasure to watch. It's a masterclass, as he puts it. I think that he'll maybe fight a cleverer fight, maybe a more conservative fight this time, and get the decision.
And on the 17th of June, when Andre Ward is getting his hands wrapped up in the other side of the world on the United States, the FTAB boys are going to be out in Manchester. What we're doing on the 17th of June is?
We'll be going to Manchester Victoria Warehouse, where we'll be watching the local Urmston lad, Jordan Troublesome Thompson.
Nice.
He's going to be fighting in the cruiserweight division. He's been knocking people out left, right and centre. Carry on with his undefeated streak. Keep an eye on him, guys. Tune in. It should be on Box Nation. Great fighter. Great prospect from our local streets of Urmston.
Get a photo with us ringside if you can afford the seats.
That's right. For those about to brawl listeners, get to ringside. If you need some boxing advice, speak to Israel. If you need some legal advice, speak to Chutney. And if you need some help getting drinks in at the bar. Anything else from you two guys this week you'd like to talk about?
It was the year anniversary of Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, passing. Luckily in Britain we've had some great documentaries on. Last night I was watching the Thriller Manila. It's been on loads of times.
Yeah, I watched that a couple of nights ago, yeah.
And it's just amazing, and it's one of them fights, it's hard to watch again, going back to Fonfara Stevenson and saving fighters from themselves.
Yeah.
A real war for any new boxing fans or people who've not seen, Ali and Frazier back in the day. It's definitely worth watching the Thriller Manila and looking out for the documentary that was on for rest in peace, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Something I saw on Twitter, which I've not seen before,
Yep.
As a result of the anniversary, was Sly Stallone picking up his Oscar, and Muhammad Ali sneaks up behind him while he's doing his speech, and it is absolute gold.
Nice.
I encourage anyone to get on YouTube right now. And
Yeah,
look
well,
for
I
that.
think you should put that on your Twitter handle. At
Maybe I
Chutney
will.
News.
Yes,
yeah.
I will. I'll do that right now.
Absolutely. Anything else from anyone? Right, well, ladies and gentlemen, on this week's episode of For Those About to Brawl, I think we've decided the next featherweight championship fight will be Holloway versus Edgar. We're expecting Aldo to go up to the lightweight division. We're saying see you later to Nate, the great Marquardt. He's going off into Bellator perhaps. And we found out that Israel's got a very special feeling for a new Brazilian saviour.
What's his name, Dennis?
I'll tell you next time. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. On behalf of Iz and Chutney, we'd like to say peace to our 47, or thank you to our 47 followers on Facebook. Please follow us at FTAB News on Twitter and FTAB News on Instagram. Peace out, secondhand guns. Thank you for the tunes. All the best. Bye.